Welcome to the Offshore Club's fun-filled, fact-filled, fast-paced blockbuster podcast, Coffee with Carib Carter, coming to you exclusively from where the sun never sets on the good life at a great price. And now, fill up your favorite coffee mug and join your expert and your guide, Carib Carter Clues.
Hello, 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 and welcome to Coffee with Carib Carter. I think it's our 65th visit together, okay? And I hope you're enjoying it as much as I am. I think you are, because I get your notes and I really appreciate them. Don't forget to hit subscribe, okay? When you hit subscribe, YouTube then will send it to other people who are like-minded like us, the kind of people we want to join us when we make our move to Central or South America. So please hit subscribe. Today, fantastic show for you. I'm going to do an interview, okay? I'm going to do an interview the second half of the show with a living legend, okay? This gentleman is a living legend. I'll go into it more when I introduce him in just a little bit, but let me tell you something. He and I are going to talk old school. You say, what do you mean old school? Old school, the way it used to be in America when it really was a wonderful life up here. You know, like the movies, It's a Wonderful Life. It really was, folks. Those of you who are old enough to remember it was just pleasant to live in America. It ain't no more, okay, because of the politicians and the, you know, what they do on a daily basis, okay? I don't know what goes into their heads, except it ain't nice and it doesn't help us. So we're going to interview somebody we're going to talk old school, because what is old school, what we're going to talk about with this living legend that I'm going to introduce to you in a little bit, is the way it still is in Central and South America: Honduras, Guatemala, El Salvador, Nicaragua, Uruguay, Paraguay. You can live the wonderful life you had up here, laid back life, a likable life, where there's a warmth and a goodness that's just exuded. Neighbors are neighbors and friends, instead of what the politicians have done, make everybody look askance at each other, turn black against white, old against poor, old against young, poor against rich. They never stop, because it serves their purpose. You keep people separated, you keep them under control. It's not that way down south of the border. And we're going to talk about the way it used to be up here, the way it is down there now with the living legend, okay? Okay, and then got a $1,000 listing Caribbean for you, which, matter of fact, I'm going to go into it right now. You know, I'm going to go into it right now. We have a motivation moment at the end, but I'm going to go, let's do this. I'm going to go into your $1,000 listing Caribbean. Then we're going to introduce the living legend, gentleman named Frank Luber, who I guarantee you are going to love. Okay, I know, because I grew up in Baltimore City when he was the legend, and everybody still loves him there today, okay? Back when Baltimore City was like it is down south of the border now, a wonderful place to be. Okay, you'll see for yourself. But first, let's do the $1,000 listing. We're going to do something a little different today, because I want to talk to you about maybe moving, but also investment, okay? A great investment. And this time, you know, we say, folks, I'm not here to sell you. I'm just here to tell you, I'm selling you, okay? I'm selling you. Not for my sake. I don't make a penny. I don't make a penny if you buy into this. You do, okay? Because it is a prime investment, okay? Let me preface it with this. I'm going to show you a picture, okay? I'm going to show you a picture. Okay, you're saying, well, what is that, Carter? It looks like a wasteland. It was. It's called Solomon's Island. It's down in southern Maryland. My dad was a minister in Hollywood. It was in the 50s. Somebody came to him and said, Reverend, why don't you buy some land over in Solomon's Island? You know, you can get it for $10 an acre, okay? My dad said, I'd love to, but I don't have $10. I got 3 kids to raise, right? And I'm paid a minister's wages. Back in those days, they were not much. So he couldn't do it. Okay, I was a kid. Here's $10 an acre. Here's Solomon's Island today. Look at all the yachts. An acre of land in Solomon's Island now is $350,000. Oh, Dad, I wish you had had the $10. Imagine if he had $100, I'd have $3.5 million today. Okay, that's why I'm doing this Coffee with Carib Carter $1,000 listing Caribbean for you about a property I want you to invest in. You've got the money. I want you to do it, okay? We're going to, I always like the long shot here. We're going to Nicaragua. See Nicaragua there, little green country between Costa Rica and Honduras. Where I have 2 homes, investments. Well, one of them I live in, it's a beach home. But now we're going specifically to a place, let's get a little closer, Grand Pacifica, the #1 residential resort community in all of Central America. Absolutely gorgeous on 3.5 miles of beachfront, Pacific Ocean beachfront. Okay. All right. Here, let's look a little closer here. Here's some of the scenes from Grand Pacifica. Okay. I'm showing you all this because this is where I want you to invest, not for your sake, not for my sake, for your sake and for your children's and grandchildren's sake. Okay. Okay. Now, let's zero right in. I'm suggesting to you, you go to grandpacifica.com, where I just showed you, grandpacifica.com, click on communities and go to Casita Village, okay? There's the website. This is what you're going to see, okay? There's the website, Casita, C-A-S-I-T-A, Casita means little home, Village. Okay, there's the page you're going to be going to after you go to grandpacifica.com. Let me show you what you're going to see. You're going to see the opportunity to buy a lot there, ocean view lot. And please, when I tell you it's an ocean view lot, I mean it's ocean view. You can walk to the beach, okay? It's not like realtors in America now when they say, well, this is a ocean view property. Yeah, it's ocean view if you got the Hubble telescope in your pocket. Okay, no, this is really, Casita Village is really ocean view. You can walk down to the water, okay? You can walk down to the water. Here you go, right there. See here? Here it is. There are the lots I'm talking about, okay? Okay, that over to, where you see the little, looks like a wave, that's the ocean. That's the ocean, folks. That's the ocean. Zero in closer. Here you go. Here's where you're buying your lot for $37,000. Okay. One of those lots can be yours. Look, see what's there to the right? A golf course. That golf course is on the ocean. Okay. Okay. On the left, if they showed it, there's woods and forests, gorgeous, where you go horseback riding when you want to. All right. So you buy one of those lots, and maybe you can just sit on it for a while if you want, sit on it for a couple of years if you want, or build a home like that. Maybe cost you $100,000. Maybe. Okay. Now, why do I say it's such a great investment? I've just shown everything to you because Grand Pacifica is, as I said, the Caribbean's #1 residential resort community. Folks, it grows all the time. They're building new and beautiful homes there all the time. So with every new and beautiful, I think I interviewed Mike Cobb. It's a Mike Cobb community. Those of you who, some of you watch Mike Cobb's Offshore Investment Report at offshore.club every Friday at noon. It's a great show, great podcast, because Mike is the offshore investment oracle. He owns 5 or 6 resorts in Central America. This is the premier. And so this resort, I think you said the other day, they're in the process of building 80 new homes. Folks, that is called increase in property value. Okay. So you buy your property today for $37,000. And let's say you just sit on it. Every year it's going up. And it even goes up more than the inflation rate. Okay. Even the Biden inflation rate, it goes up more than. All right. Let's say you build on it. Okay. That makes your property even more valuable. Plus, Grand Pacifica has a rental program. It'll help rent your property. So you're getting equity, and you're getting cash flow. You can't beat that. Okay? You can't beat that. This is an investment that's going to, remember the investment, Solomon's Island? When my father had to pass up at $10, it's now worth $350,000 an acre. It's going to grow the same way, exponentially. I think, if this property in 10 years, I'm going to predict right now, your $37,000 in 10 years is going to be worth probably $500,000. Okay. You're not going to get that return anywhere. I'm a big fan of Grant Cardone. I just am. I sent out a mailing about him the other day, where he was talking about, folks, the best way to beat inflation, the best way to invest in the future securely is property. Property. Will Rogers, some of you remember the great comedian. He said, don't wait to buy property and wait. Okay. And that's even truer in beachfront property in somewhere like Casita Village at Grand Pacifica than anywhere in the U.S. now. Where are you going to get ocean view property on the ocean in a world-class residential resort community for $37,000 right now? Remember the Carib Carter 10 times factor I tell you about? Whatever you buy up here, down there is going to cost you 1/10 of what it would up here. Fact. I've talked to Mike Cobb about it. He builds the communities. Joe Nagle, his partner. Fact, folks. So that property up here would cost you $370,000. Plus, it's going to multiply in value. I'm telling you, buy. This. How often do I say that to you? Never. I say, look it over. I'm telling you, do yourself a favor. Buy one of these properties at Grand Pacifica, Casita Village. And then you know what? Invite me down for a barbecue, okay? And then we'll go down to the beach together, because you're going to want to thank me. And I have to say, rightly so, because it's the best investment you're ever going to make. You got money sitting around. If you have money in the bank, you're losing 20% right now, okay? You're losing. Would they pay interest 1/10 of 1% while you're losing 20%? Not good. Now that you say, well, invest in housing up here, folks, it's starting to go down up here now. Okay. It's peaked, going down. Stock market, I don't know. When you got a government who's propped it up the way. Yeah. Already look at FANG, the high tech stocks. They have dropped like 33% in the last couple months. Okay. I hope your money wasn't in them. Instead, put it down in that property. All right. And so there you go. There's your $1,000 listing, Caribbean. Now let's talk to the legend. Okay. Because we're going to talk to him about old school, because the good life that we're going to talk to Frank Luber, the Baltimore legend, about is the kind of life you're going to live when you make your move to, where's my papers? Casita Village in Grand Pacifica, or anywhere else in Nicaragua, Honduras, Guatemala, anywhere. Okay, let's talk to Frank, okay? Because you're going to love this. You're going to love this. You're going to love him. All right, now, folks, I told you we were going to have a very, very, very special guest. This gentleman who you're about to meet is truly a legend, okay? He is a broadcast legend. I grew up in Baltimore as a kid. This gentleman was the Mr. Baltimore, okay? Mr. Baltimore. If you want to know how much of a legend he was, okay, I'm going to, in my introduction here, while Frank's waiting off stage here, look. This is the radio station I listened to as a kid. Rock and roll. Give me that rock and roll. That's Frank Luber. Here is where Frank went next, where I watched the news. That is obviously angry Frank Luber, okay? And here, lest you think he isn't a legend, he was the fifth of the Fab Four. You cannot beat that, Frank. Welcome to Coffee with Carib Carter. Let's talk some old school.
Thank you very much, Carter. I don't know if I deserve all those plaudits, but I'll take them at my age.
Well, they are all true. I mean, it's thrilling. I mean, you and I are obviously old friends now, but it's still thrilling to me because you are. Look, I put you up there, folks. I'm a Baltimore kid. I was raised on the streets of Baltimore. I put on my pedestals are Johnny Unitas, Frank Robinson, Brooks Robinson, and Frank Luber. There we go. And Mayor Schaefer.
Wow, I'm in good company.
You're in great company. And Frank,
now you grew up in Baltimore. Was it Hamden or what area?
I grew up in Hamden.
Hamden, right?
Folks.
And of course, I grew up in the Irvington area in Southwest Baltimore. And lo and behold, I ended up in Hamden quite frequently when I went to Channel 13 back in 1968.
That's exactly right. There we go. We know that's true because we have got the photo. There we go. Frank, I don't know what you were talking about there, but you were obviously not very happy about it. Folks, Frank and
must have been a bad day.
Must have been a bad day. Folks, I'm thrilled to talk to Frank for a variety of reasons, but one of which is I want to make something clear. You know, Frank, I'm president of the Offshore Club. Folks, offshore.club. Make sure you go there a lot. And Coffee with Carib Carter, this is our flagship show every Monday at noon at offshore.club. Now, the whole purpose of the Offshore Club is to help people, I'm just going to put it bluntly, escape the United States, okay, and move to Central and South America. As we always tell them, it's a good life at a great price. And one of the points I make is everything that used to make America wonderful, old school, is now south of the border. It's there. It's there for the taking for like a quarter of the price that is up here. Buy a home is a tenth of the price. I want to remind people because you and I we grew up with it, all right? You know, Frank was up here when I was a kid, but believe it or not, there's only like 6 years difference between us. I think that's about it. But 6 years when you're a kid in high school is a lot. And Frank, you were at WCAO, rock and roll music. I can't tell you how many times my father, a Methodist minister, said to me when he walked in, I was listening to you and Johnny Dark and WCAO, rock and roll music. My father would walk in and say, turn down that trash.
Well, I was really fortunate, Carter, because I wanted to get into something. I didn't necessarily think about broadcasting, but I enjoyed being in front of a microphone. Even calling bingo, I got a charge out of that, to be honest with you. And some will say that's where I actually got my start, calling bingo at St. Joseph's Monastery Church back when I was like 17 years old, 16, 17 years old.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. And so what, I want to share with people what it was like growing up back in the old school, old neighborhood, right? Because when you move, folks, when you move to Nicaragua or Honduras now, or El Salvador, Uruguay, you're going to find life is as great as it was back in when Frank and I were young in Baltimore City. And right now, everybody's saying Baltimore City, here's your choices. If somebody says go to Baltimore City, you can say, well, look, why don't I just go ahead and shoot myself in the head here at home and save the trip, right? It's that bad. But it was a wonderful, wonderful city. Just like, folks, you're going to find the cities and towns you're going to move to in Central and South America. So let's talk about what it was like. What it was like back in the day when you could jump on the bus, which you can't do in Baltimore now, head over to Memorial Stadium and watch Brooks Robinson like the human vacuum cleaner at third base.
Well, it was amazing because, going back to when I was a kid, obviously, we're talking about, well, I'm 84 years old now. And so I'm talking about when I was, 10 years old, 8 years old. We didn't have air conditioning in our house. A lot of people, most Baltimoreans didn't have air conditioning. They were lucky if they had a room air conditioner, one that you put in the window and cooled off, one or two rooms. Well, we didn't have air conditioning. We didn't even have that. We were lucky if we got a pot of ice and put a fan in front of it, like that. But the point is that back in those days, even when I was in my early teens, we could literally sleep out on the porch on a hot summer night. You wouldn't dare do that today.
No.
It's it's just amazing. And people were so much different. People, the neighbors were neighborly. You knew everybody knew each other in that particular block, or maybe one or two blocks beyond, and they looked out for each other.
Yeah.
I can't say that about Baltimore today.
Oh my God.
No.
You look out for each other in a different way in Baltimore today, as in look out. But the point I want to make is everything you're saying now, you move to somewhere like, let's say, Grand Pacific in Nicaragua, or, Tegucigalpa in Honduras, it's still the same way. You have neighbors who take care of neighbors. You sleep with your door open, your windows open, and down there you catch that Caribbean breeze. And when you went out, let's talk Lexington Market. Today, you can't go to Lexington Market. In all over Central America, you have markets like Lexington Market. Tell the folks what it was like back in the day, old school, when we used to be able to go to Lexington Market.
Well, that's where you did all your shopping. I mean, there weren't, up until 1947, 1948, there were no shopping centers in Baltimore. The first shopping center was the Edmondson Village, and that came about in 1947, 1948. So everybody went to do their grocery shopping at a corner grocery store, and they had everything. They had lunch meats, they had steaks, they had everything that you could imagine. It was like almost like a small shopping center or food mart.
Yeah.
But they had everything. But every other corner had a grocery store, and that's where we did our shopping. And what was amazing is my mother would call in. Sometimes she, didn't want to wait in line at the little grocery store, so she would call in her order, and they would deliver it to her. Now, here it is 75 years later or so, and it seems like what goes around comes around, because for a fee now, they will deliver your orders from Walmart or other places.
Yeah. But back then, the corner store, you still have the corner meat market, the corner milk market, the corner egg, all that is still down there. And let's take La Ceiba. I bought a home. I've told you this, gorgeous beach home right outside of La Ceiba in a community called, there it is, La Ceiba Beach Club. I paid $30,000, Frank. It's a 2-bedroom home. My front yard is the beach. Okay. The swimming pool's out the back door, gated, guarded, gardened community. But when I go to La Ceiba, which is about 15-minute drive away, you still go to the little specialty shops. And I mentioned Lexington Market. La Ceiba has its Lexington Market, folks, was the big market in the center of Baltimore where you went to. My mother and I took the bus every Saturday morning.
Yeah. And
it had stalls, fresh fish, fresh meat, whatever. That you have in La Ceiba now. You can't go there in Baltimore anymore. But tell about what Lexington Market was like. It was just unbelievable. Hey, over here. Come over here. You want some meat? I got the meat. Come over here.
Yeah. The Lexington Market, and right next door was another place called Shriver's, which a lot of people went the shop there as well. All the shopping was down in Baltimore, right within the vicinity of Howard and Lexington Street. That's basically where everything was done. People would get on the streetcars, not the buses. We didn't have buses. We had trackless trolleys, but we didn't have, the buses that we have today. But basically, it was streetcars. So my mother, my grandmother, if they wanted to do shopping, they'd go down to Howard and Lexington Street. That was the hub of shopping. Right up Lexington Street from where Hochul Cone and the May Company were, 1 or 2 blocks up was the Lexington Market. That's where you did all your grocery shopping. Well, the people would get on the streetcar coming home with bags, shopping bags full of things.
Shopping bags.
It was just unbelievable.
Frank, my mother and I would go down every Saturday morning. Okay, folks, this is what we're talking. As I say, old school now. What you're going to find when you move south of the border in your new world. You can still do this down there. You can't ride a bus in most American cities anymore. But we would get on the bus, the number 10 bus from Hamden down to Lexington Market every Saturday morning. The first time we ever did it, we got the bags, like you say, my mother, a little Italian woman, and we would get 2 loaves of pumpernickel at one of the Jewish delis inside Lexington Market, or 1 loaf the first time. So we ate it on the way home. On the way home, we ate the. So my mother said, from now on, we get 2 loaves every Saturday morning.
Well, when you talk about Honduras and Nicaragua, it makes me think about the number of illegal aliens that are crossing our border,
Yeah.
not doing what other people have done in the correct way. And we're talking about hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people that are crossing our borders illegally. And I almost facetiously said one time, maybe since Maryland and the entire country seems like it's deteriorating, maybe most of us ought to start migrating south of the border, either to Nicaragua or Honduras or Mexico or someplace like that. In other words, we'll migrate south, and the people from Central America and Mexico, they'll migrate north. Now, if that happens, if we all move south of the border, please, if you're going to move there and you're from the northern states, don't bring your liberal ways with you. And I say that today about people who are moving from New York and Connecticut, Rhode Island, New Jersey. They're coming down to Ocean City, Maryland, and my same speech would be to them: fine, welcome aboard, but don't bring your liberal ways with you from those areas.
Well, that's it. I wrote a column. I do a column for Offshore Club. I think it's every Thursday, offshore.club, folks, called Clues Views. And I wrote a column about what you just said. I call it the population inversion. Okay. That the 2 million a year, thanks to Joe Biden now, are sweeping across our border illegally. And I said, their children, okay, with America's horrifying deterioration in every way, crime, prices, everything about it, the lifestyle, a ministry of truth, 1984 now, DHS. The angriest people in America are going to be the children of the illegal aliens who in 10 years are going to turn to their parents. They're going to notice that all of us move south and are living the good life at a great price. They're going to say to their parents, the hell were you thinking of?
Yeah.
It's terrible up here. It's cold. There's no freedom. The prices are through the ceiling. I can't get paid enough to,
It's funny because I know in my case, when I wanted to get away, where would I go? I'd go south of the border. I can't tell you how many Caribbean islands, I've been to on vacation. And I would say to my wife, many times, why don't we just move down here? Well, we had family up here, in Maryland. So obviously we didn't do that. You did. So.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I did. My wife and I own 2 homes there. My wife is, a legal. Look at this picture. My wife, that's my wife, Rachel.
Beautiful.
She is thank you. She's a legal immigrant. She, in her hand right there, she just got that in the mail from the Department of State saying, literally, congratulations, you are now a permanent resident. So permanent to this extent, we're still going back to Honduras, where she's from. But she wanted American citizenship, was her childhood dream. So I said, all right, we're going to do it. But you're right. We do. We have places down there. One of the things I love down there when I'm down there, though, is down there, soccer's the big game, right? Now this is going to strike in your memory. The soccer players down there are from the neighborhoods, right? Now I remember as a kid growing up in Hamden, we had our annual small fries baseball dinner, right? Yeah. And Brooks or Gus Triandos or Jim Gentile, these guys would come and speak because they lived in one of the nearby neighborhoods. And it's still that way down there. Your kids get to know these big pro ball players. They're not this pampered, overpaid bunch now who take a knee when the anthem's played and crapola. I'm going to say it's crapola. You remember,
I remember
right?
Back in, I guess it was 1955, the Baltimore Colts had a tremendous draft that year. They drafted a quarterback by the name of George Shaw. They drafted Alan Amici, the quarterback. They drafted L.G. Dupre, who became the halfback. And there were several others too. I think it was George Prees was another, but it was a tremendous draft they had. It formed the nucleus of the team that eventually won back-to-back world championships in 1958 and 1959.
Yep.
And then along came Lenny Moore in 1956 and the incomparable Johnny Unitas in 1956. So those 2 years, 1955 and 1956, formed the nucleus of the 58-59 championship Baltimore Colts. In fact, I think one of the greatest teams of all time.
Oh, absolutely. And you knew them. You knew them. You know, you walk out, you would wait outside the gate. You did the same thing I did. You'd wait outside and Johnny or Raymond Berry would walk out, or as you said, Alan the Horse Amici. You say, Mr. Unitas, can I have your autograph? Yeah, kid, come on. Wasn't like today where, I'm sorry, I sell my autograph. No. And folks, when your kids get down there, they start, the soccer players are their icons. You're going to pat your kid on the head. How you doing, kid? Buenos dias, whatever. And just old school.
Oh, yeah. I remember Alan Amici went to the 11 o'clock mass at St. Joseph's Monastery Church. And he stood in the back. And I stood practically next to him because I wanted to leave early. You know, I didn't want to stay for the whole mass. Well,
Right.
Alan Amici couldn't stay for the whole mass because he had to get to the stadium in time for the Colts afternoon Sunday game. But that's how I got to meet Alan Amici. And then Johnny Unitas, there were several different instances as to how I got to meet him, but we became friends and on a first name basis to the point where when I would see Johnny Unitas, God bless him, he's gone from us now, died at the young age of 69.
Yeah.
He would say to me, Frank, how are the girls? Meaning my 3 daughters. He remembers them. You know,
Incredible.
now how many ball players today that you know of would get that personal with you?
Yeah. No, forget about it. You know, my dad was a minister, you know, at Hamden Methodist Church during the Colts season. Okay. Half the men would leave before he finished his sermon because they need to get to Memorial Stadium for the game. And I remember I said to him one time, Dad, does that bother you when Mr. Kerr and, you know, the others get up and leave before your sermon's done to get to the stadium? And he said, Carter, during Colts season, I'm just glad they show up at church at all. Different world.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the Baltimore Colts were not only iconic, but they were part of the fabric of the city. People, if they didn't know them personally, they felt like they knew them because all these guys I recall had sideline jobs. You know, some worked at Beth Steel. Johnny Unitas, I think, had a sideline job because in those days, the salaries were what, $15,000, $20,000, $25,000. The most Johnny Unitas ever made, the most that Brooks Robinson and Frank Robinson ever made playing in Baltimore was $125,000. Today, $125,000, that doesn't even pay for the bubble gum that these guys chew in the dugout, you know. No. But it's amazing. $125,000. Where did we go wrong?
Well, yeah. I remember years ago seeing Joe DiMaggio interviewed, right? And this is when players started getting millions of dollars a year. And somebody said to DiMaggio, if you were playing today, I mean, most DiMaggio got was just a little over 100,000. If you were playing today, how much money do you think George Steinbrenner would pay you? And he said, I'm not sure how much he'd pay me, but I know what he would call me, partner.
Well, Unitas had something similar. They asked Unitas, you know, if you were playing today, how, and he was up in age at the time. They asked him, if you were playing today, John, you know, how much do you think you'd make? He said, oh, maybe, you know, $500,000 or something. He said, $500,000. He said, but you got to remember, I'm 67 years old.
That's great, Frank. This has been perfect. And what you've done, you've helped people understand that there was a great, great life in America. It was a warm life. It was an embracing life. You know, it was like in America, we were all kind of like family. The politicians have wiped that out in this country now. And every day they seem to deliberately do something to wipe it out more. But you go down south of the border with those people there, it's still the same.
Yeah.
You can have it all back. That's it.
Now, let me ask you something. You mentioned the politicians who I think have ruined it. We elect politicians to represent us, and they go over there and to Washington or to Annapolis here in Maryland, and they represent themselves. It's all, you know, so all greed. So my question is, the politics in Central America right now, as an example, where a lot of people like yourself are buying homes, second homes, or in some cases just moving there. The politicians, are they learning from maybe the mistakes made here in this country? Are they just, you know, waiting for their time to be the same as the politicians here in this country?
That's a great question, Frank. And I think what you have, here's the difference. These are small countries, okay? So they're still answering. Look, Honduras is only 7 million people. So a politician, look, I'm not saying that the politicians in Honduras have hearts of gold, but when they walk out the door, they're with the people, okay? The entire budget of Honduras is, I think, 3 to 5 billion a year. The budget of the dark state, as I call it, the FBI alone in this country, the DHS, 10 billion each. So they can oppress you at every step you take. They just can't do it down there. So they don't do it. Are they greedy? Yeah. They steal those politicians down there steal every cent they can get their hands on, but that's as far as it goes. Then they leave people alone. You want a business? Open a business. We're not going to send OSHA and every other agency taxes. Your property, my property taxes, I think, are 50 cents a year. Okay. On my property. I own 2 properties now, so probably $1 a year. Okay. Income taxes, next to nothing. So the government is small, and it's going to stay small because the people down there just won't stand. They want their freedom, and they're not going to let it go. And they can look up here and see what became of this country. So bigness is part of it. We
mentioned 1984, the book written by George Orwell. And a lot of people probably don't know what we're talking about. We say this is Orwellian, and people, you know, it goes in one ear and out the other. But I would strongly recommend that people who don't know what George Orwell represented or what he wrote in the book called 1984, please get a copy of it, read it. When I read that book, all I could think of was what's happening in this country right now.
Right now. And you will never have that. There is not a country in all of Central America or South America with perhaps, except for Cuba and Venezuela, and I don't even think Venezuela, that has anything like Biden's, what does he call it? Disinformation Governance Board.
The Minister of Truth. Yeah.
It's the George Orwell 1984 Ministry of Truth, where they control what you say. Nowhere in all of Central America would they even think of such a thing. So, you know,
we're seeing it unfold right before our eyes right now.
Oh my God.
And I don't understand the 75 or 80 million people that voted for Joe Biden. I don't understand how these people can't look at what's going on around them. I mean, they're not an exception to all this. They're not going to be basically given a free pass. They're going to be suffering. Look, inflation right now is what, 8.5%, 9%. Perhaps in reality, it's maybe 12% or so.
They're closer to 20.
They got to be suffering just like the rest of us are, whether you're independent or Republican, Green Party, whatever it is. Everybody is suffering right now because of the inflation here in this country. And who caused the inflation? I mean, you know, you can say, well, some of it had to do with the war in Ukraine. We're sending a lot of money over there. Well, all you have to do is look at the policies and the agenda that Joe Biden has put in place. And I'm not even sure if Joe Biden, because I really believe the man is suffering from dementia. I don't even know if he's calling the shots. There's got to be people behind the scenes that are actually calling the shots, and who they are, I can guess. Susan Rice, perhaps, that comes to mind. Jake Sullivan is another one, but there's somebody calling the shots, and it's not Joe Biden.
No, I think you're right. And the nice part is you don't have anybody like that down in Central America. Look, the one that the U.S. government always points to, well, he's a dictator, is Daniel Ortega. Daniel Ortega of Nicaragua would never do the things to his people that have been done to the American people now. As a matter of fact, when the COVID hoax was perpetrated, Daniel Ortega said to his people, I am not your father. If you want to run around in a mask, do it. I'm not. If you want to get shot with everything you can find, get shot at, do it. I'm not. You are free. You are a free people. My God, I wish somebody would have said that in this country. So the freedom is there now. So, Frank, this has been terrific. And you've nailed it right on the head. And you helped us remember what was so good about the good old days and can be good again once people make their move south of the border.
Well, let's go down memory lane once again sometime in the future.
All right, Frank, thank you for joining. It's been terrific. And it's been my privilege and honor. Thank you. Take care. There you have it, folks. A true legend, a brilliant man. Been there, done that. I mean, I showed you the pictures, you know, one of the Fab Five right there, Frank Luber. So that is absolutely terrific. That is absolutely terrific. And we're almost out of time. This interview, I just let it go on a little bit because I knew you were enjoying it. Getting to listen to someone who is part of the kind of life that, the average age of an Offshore Club member is over 50. So everything he was talking about, you remember, maybe not in Baltimore, but in your own community, the way it used to be, the way it once was and is no more, except south of the border. So I promised you very quickly, let me just say, give you your Carib Carter motivation moment. I'm going to make it really quick because we're out of time and I don't want to go too long. Here's my motivation moment for you. Look at this. I said my father was a minister. Look, I'm getting ready to read you from the Holy Bible here. Let me read you the 5th chapter. Sometimes people say to me, I get letters from people saying, Carter, you're too Pollyannish. You say it's too great down there. Aren't there any problems down there? Of course there are. But you know what? There are problems that actually make your life better. How do we know? This is from St. Paul, Romans 5. Bear with me here. 2. Here we go. 5:3. We glory in tribulations. Of course, you're going to have some problems. You have problems wherever you are. Also knowing that tribulation worketh patience. You go through it, you learn patience. All right, let me suffer through a little bit. Maybe you buy a home down there and it needs something fixed you didn't think it was going to be needs to fix. And let's face it, mañana, things don't move as fast down there. It may take you a little longer. Tribulation like that breeds patience. You will learn patience, folks, when you make your move to Central or South America. Tribulation brings patience, experience. Yeah, and experience hope. That's it. That's my message to you. The hope of a better life, the good life at a great price in the sun, sand, and surf south of the border. Folks, let's do this thing.